What would you say are those sort of top 3 or top 5 criteria in order to make sure that a restaurant gets on the radar?
I want to see the craft in things. You always look for meaning behind what's happening. If you do something really well and do it authentically and just not care about like this obsession with the list, that's what hurts people more than it serves them.
In this day and age of social media, it's easy for them to message you and say, well, I don't agree with you.
As a person, like, you decide where you want to get your information. And if you want it from a reliable, trusted source, then great. And if you want it from the internet, then...
The food festival in Jordan, how did that come about?
Okay, that was... that was also a last minute thing. It was...
Hello, my friends, and a very warm welcome back to the show. How is everyone doing? What have you been up to? What's going on in your kitchens, restaurants, your lives? What do you have for the upcoming festive period? Or maybe you're working on some new incredible projects, or perhaps just wanting to overcome the day-to-day. Whatever it is, most important thing is that you're here with me. We share a little moment, take a little cup of tea or coffee, have time for yourself as you deserve it. That's all that matters. So, before we dive in, I know that you love the show. So, the most important thing is that you hit that subscribe button on YouTube or press follow wherever you get your podcasts, as it helps us grow as much as possible and keep the conversation flowing. Season 11 continues to bring up stories that inspire, connect, and challenge the way we see the gastronomic world. And today's guest embodies all of that and so much more. Some of you may know or may not know that I have been a fan of anything to do with the world's 50 best since their inception, so I'm a little bit excited about today's guest. We're joined by someone who truly celebrates food as a form of storytelling, emotion, and connection. Leen Al Zaben is a food and travel writer, photographer, and consultant. Not only that, which is super impressive, she's also an Academy chair for the world's 50 best restaurants, and she's also doing that for MENA's 50 best. Boom. How about that? Based between Amman and Dubai, her work has taken her across the globe, from Tokyo to San Francisco, documenting flavors, people, and cultures that shape how we experience food today. Leen has spent over a decade crafting unforgettable experiences that go far beyond the plate, where food becomes a language and dining turns into a memory. Get ready for a conversation that's rich with insight, passion, and purpose, as we explore what it really means to tell stories through food and how culture, travel, and community can come together and shape the global dining scene. Leen is articulate, charismatic, and fully understands what it takes to be at the very, very top of the global food scene. Listen out for a story about her favorite cuisine. Time to rock and roll.
Hi, I'm Leen. I'm a food and culture consultant. If you like the podcast, make sure to follow, share, and subscribe.
Leen, a very warm welcome to the show. Now, as is customary, can you please tell me your first or favorite childhood food memory?
Okay, so many. It's always difficult to kind of pick one. The one that comes to mind now is Friday mornings, and that was the weekend growing up. And my dad would make breakfast. He would make like foul mdammas, and he has his way with it, and it's always a production. So I would say it was that, and it was the one time he would cook. So it was like this moment. And I think he always made such a big deal about he still does.
He still makes it?
He still makes it.
Oh, okay.
But he always wants like all the compliments, and he's like, don't ask me how I made it, and don't tell me, like, don't ask what the secret ingredient is. And so he's always like kind of fishing for compliments. And sometimes it's fantastic, and sometimes it's not so great.
Okay.
But I would say it, like, that's something that's like a recurring food moment with my father.
So as a chef, I'd like to know, how does he make it? What is the technique that he does?
Okay, he only uses like dry beans that have been soaked, so he doesn't like use anything out of the can. So that's like also not him prepping it. It's like prepped for him by others.
Okay.
So, but he takes the credit for it. But then he uses a lot of garlic, a lot of chili, cumin. So he kind of warms up the beans with cumin and I want to say lemon and olive oil and salt. And then he dresses it with lots of tomatoes, onions, chilies, lots of like fresh garlic. So it's very punchy. And then really good olive oil, which is also a staple at home. So that's one food memory. And then the next ones, all my like childhood food memories are at my grandma's house. And I thought she was a good cook. She doesn't cook anymore, but like it was like lentil soup. It was her big salads. Like I'm obsessed with salads. I talk about this all the time, but like my love for salads came from her. But it was more about what we ate them in and how she served the food and just coming together. And it was always like we had dinner or we had lunch and we go over and then we eat again. So it was always like that she would draw you in. Like there was something about her house where you'd want to eat, you'd get hungry again, even if you're full, like you kind of just want to nibble on something.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, so it was, and it still is one of those places. Like I just go, I'm like, automatically it's like, I need to eat something. Like, what do you have? So what's in your fridge? What's on the table?
For anyone who doesn't know where you're from, can you tell us?
Yes, I'm from Jordan. Also, I come from a Bedouin family, so it's like not as common. So like I grew up with a very Bedouin father, very much rooted in hospitality and connection to nature, and he takes pride in his nomadic culture, but it also comes in through like the DNA. I always feel like I need to move a lot, and it's funny. It's like this itch that comes to me. But that's like my dad's side. My mom's family is like from the Syrian Lebanese border, Lib'a, and so like, but she grew up in Jordan, so it was like a generational thing. But like you won't meet like many Bedouin Jordanians.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, because I'm particularly interested.
Okay.
Because I want to know sort of from the insider's view, how was it sort of growing up steeped in that type of culture?
It's funny, I didn't realize I was steeped in it till I was kind of a grown up and started interacting with the world. But like, I think the love for food and cooking and hosting and hospitality, that was like always the backbone. Like the guest always comes first. It's like how you treat your guests. How do you make them have a good time? What are things you can do to like make them feel comfortable and happy? And so we love to host as a family. Like we love to cook, we love to host, we love to create special experiences. And I thought that was just us as a family, but then I look back and I'm like, no, it's very much part of the culture and how we were raised. It's like generosity, welcoming guests. Our house is always open. We always have people coming in, and we always have people over for lunch or surprise guests, dinner guests. Or so we love to kind of have this open door policy. And I just never thought about it till like went off to college and then realized that, oh, we do things a bit differently. But I mean, it's...
No, but I think that's really
And I don't know if that answered your question,
no.
Like it's...
but what I think is really interesting about it is that, you never really think about the sort of when people say hospitality and you go to the UK or Australia or the West, people have a certain sense of hospitality. Mm-hmm. But it's, for me personally, it's not until you come to a place like the Middle East where you see true warm hospitality, where people really beautifully welcome you in and they don't allow you to leave until you're absolutely stuffed, right? So that's why I just think it's such an incredible thing to have as a culture. But what were the types of meals traditionally then, that if you had that sort of Friday spread, or maybe on the Saturday when everybody got together at Grandma's house?
Yeah.
I want to know in details the types of bowls you had,
but
the
there
salads.
Are themes. There are different themes. There are seasons. There are like moods.
Done.
And then it's also like, are we doing like a traditional mensaf, which is...
of course,
it's like for people who don't know, it's like the fermented dried yogurt with rice, and usually they make it with lamb in our family, which is like a big no-no, especially since we're Bedouins, we make it with chicken. So it's like this.
Oh, you make it with chicken?
We're an anomaly because I have like childhood trauma from lamb, and like generally I'm very sensitive with smells.
Right.
And so like I can't do it. And so my mom would make us the chicken version, but then we realized that we all prefer it to the lamb one. So like And when you have
Wow.
mensaf, you only have mensaf. Like
Right.
you have this, like the greens and the onions and the like radishes and all the things on the side, but like it's just the mensaf, and then usually for dessert you have knafe and like fresh fruit,
And then go to sleep.
and you go to sleep. But like that's one theme. Then we have the barbecues, which are just amazing. It's like the kebab and the chicken and the lamb chops. And then the grilled vegetables, and then we make a grilled vegetable salad, and then there's the hummus and the mtabbal and like the fresh salads.
But all handmade though, right?
Of course, no,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
at
yeah.
home. Like it's just not even a question. So there's that, and I think those are like the two, I would say, Friday meals. And then of course you have like the general stews and like the mlukhiyya day, but those are like weekday meals, so
Okay.
they're not as special. And wara dawali, wara ainab, the stuffed grape leaves, that's also like a big one, because it's a communal meal, and
Right.
it takes a long time to prepare, and it's like always very special, and people come together to have it. So that's like another one.
And can you also explain to me, you touched upon your grandmother.
Yes.
I'm particularly interested about these salads and the
Okay.
bowls and the things that she would serve them in.
Okay. Nothing like, some things were special and some things were not, but she had this massive, and I can't remember if the salad tossers were red and the bowl was green, or if the bowl was green and the tossers were red. Like it was one or the other, but it was always very big, always very fresh, like very tangy, very lemony, very salty, always well dressed, and it was always like massive. Like it was a massive bowl, and so that's
Wow.
still. And I was actually trying to find a similar bowl because I just feel like I needed to eat my salads out of a bowl like that. But like that started a lifelong affair with like obsession with lettuce, and like crunchy lettuce, and it's just texture. And it's like combos in a salad. Like you need layers, but I also don't like creamy dressings. Like they have to be super clean, super fresh. So it's like it's this weird. I can't even explain it, but like sometimes I'll add nuts, sometimes I'll add pickles, sometimes I'll add like seeds. Tomatoes have to be cut a certain way and added like very last minute, because otherwise it just like ruins everything. And then I won't have like avocados in a salad because they're too creamy, so you need to have them on their own. Like I have like weird,
I like it though.
I have weird rules.
It's quite technical.
It's very
I like it.
It's very technical, and it's very thematic, and I also love just working with the seasons and whatever is available. And I guess growing up in Jordan, we're very lucky. We get all 4 seasons, so we always eat seasonally. Like it was never even like before it was even cool. Like you just go to the greengrocer, you see what he has, and that's what you buy, and that's what you make. It was never like, if zucchinis were in season, then you're just not gonna have them. Like that's the way it was. Like wara ainab and mlukhiyya come out in the spring, so that's when we'd have it like freshly made. So it's kind of nice to kind of have followed the seasons and kind of go with what's available. And it still works that way, actually, till today. So it's kind of, I don't think you can do that in many places in the world right now.
No, I was going to say that. But also, what I think is also very interesting is that, so 2 things from that. Number one, the fact that, you were introduced to sort of heat and spice at quite a young age.
Okay.
From the breakfast. And also, you were introduced in another way to very much umami flavors.
Okay.
Because if you think about all of the things that go into those salads,
Okay.
with the acidity, the salt, the sour,
The balance.
the balance,
It's the balance of it, yeah.
it's very interesting because it sort of helps you for your current job, I would say, at the moment. So then, if we go towards your educational path,
Okay.
what were the types of things that you were sort of interested in when you were going sort of from your teenage time to sort of college to uni?
It was like reading was always a thing. Writing was always a thing, but I had never considered it to be a thing I could do like as a job. I was always interested in working with my hands and creating. I had like this wild imagination, but I also, growing up, we lived just outside of Amman, so I used to go on all these walks and like just explore and like in nature. And back then, like it was really safe. Like I'd just walk out and like as an 8-year-old and just go explore, whether it was with neighbors or my siblings or just by myself. And we lived like in an area that had like a lot of oak trees and just like a lot of vegetation in the spring. And like I would just like, like pick up a rock and see like a bunch of worms underneath. And then like there were wild mushrooms. Like I never touched things or like ate things, but I was just always exploring, like acorns, collecting them. I remember collecting like a bunch of ladybirds, ladybugs, and I had them in like cans of milk, like I had found these like empty tins and I had like filled them. Like there were so many
Wow.
of them. And like it's just random stuff you do as a child. Like, but it was always about exploring, connecting with nature. And so I was interested in that. And like now looking back, I can see that that kind of shaped my career path, like that desire to be in nature, to create, to be connected. And food is very much a part of nature. I never considered food as a career till like very much later in life. And I was lost for so many years because I went and I did marketing and strategy for university, and I was good at school. So things came easily, and I thought I had to go down like a certain path and like, you know, be academic and do all the things that I had to do. But then I was miserable. I was so sad. And I didn't know where that sadness came from because I just didn't feel fulfilled. Even in studying, like I had no interest in like accounting or finance. And
So is that what you studied at uni?
I did like a general management business degree, and then I did marketing and strategy as like my concentrations.
Right.
But like, so I had to do all the things, and I was doing them, and like,
But it was interesting or not really?
not at all, like not at all. And I was just like, I'm like, this is something I have to do, so let me get it out of the way. And then I went, I finished a year early. I like literally like condensed my years. So I was out of college in 3 years instead of 4.
So they allowed you to do
Well,
that?
yeah, I had
Or-
like, no, I did like 2 summers, and I just like literally, I needed to be done. Like I was like, let me just get this out of the way. Like it was just something that I just needed to, like, you want the degree, here's the degree.
Oh, so you were very sort of, persistent and focused.
But like, I look back and I'm like, I'm never intentional about these things, but it's just like, I find myself doing them because it's not like I sat down and said, okay, let me be organized and finish in 3 years. It was just like, okay, if I could do 5 courses, let me just do 5 instead of 4 and just be done with this,
Wow.
So I did that. And then I had a year off, and I wanted to go like do a gap year. And I thought about going to China and like training, like doing Shaolin training. Don't ask me why. Like it was like random Googling. Then I wanted to go to Argentina to learn Spanish. I literally was so lost. Like it wasn't like I had a passion or
Right.
I was just trying to find myself. I ended up in Paris. I did a French language course. My mom's, so my grandma, that grandma is half French.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I have a French passport. I speak French, but like, can I be better? Can I be fluent? So I went and I spent a year there. I ate a lot.
And how was that year?
It was hard. It wasn't easy.
Hard in what respect?
I think being in France and not speaking fluently and just being in Paris, and I was still very young. Like I thought I had gone to but I was 20 at the time, 21-ish. Like,
And it was your first time away from home?
well, no, I had studied at McGill, so I was in
Okay.
Montreal, but I had friends and my sister, and then I moved to Paris, and I had a very close friend with me, and we were living together, but like we had different schedules, and it just felt very lonely, and like it's not a language I was very comfortable with, so it was hard. It wasn't easy, and I was trying to also figure out like, okay, I had this year, and it was like ending, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with myself? Like, where am I gonna go? What am I gonna do? Like, I don't like what I studied. Am I just gonna go get a job? And it was kind of that.
There's a lot of soul searching at the time, right?
It was, but like I don't think in a mature way. Like
Okay.
I was very young.
Yeah.
Like I really didn't know any better, and I feel like maybe this generation is a bit more empowered, has more access to information, also has a lot more confidence. Like I wasn't confident. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't know what I was gonna do, and so I was lost, and I was under this pressure to be something or someone, and I don't know if it was self-imposed or society imposed or imposed. Like I can't blame it on anyone. It just felt like I was
So your
failing.
your family never sort of said this is what you have to do, or,
No,
or that
but, like,
it was
I'm that-
internal pressure.
I think I'm that person. Like I
Right.
just somehow create pressure on
Right.
myself, and it's good and bad.
No, but yes, yeah, in
Yeah.
both senses.
Yeah, like looking back now, like I think I just wish I was a bit more confident. But I think that thing comes with age and experience
and
time, but also maybe doing what you love.
Mm.
And I didn't know what I loved. Like I was really lost. And I think our generation growing up was very like traditional in the sense like you go to school, this is what you do. Like we didn't have options. Like I never thought I could pursue a career in arts or like go learn photography or like do something like that. It always felt like, oh, it has to be like a thing where you go and like get a real job and like go work in an office. Like and again, it was immaturity from my end, but like I just didn't know any better.
And was that the expectation from the family for you to get that type of job? Is that a traditional thing?
I want to say yes and no, but like I feel like throughout this, my mom was like, you should be doing art stuff. Like, why? And I was like, no, mom, like I need to do this. Like it was almost like I also like needed to prove that I was like intelligent or capable or didn't want to be less than my friends or my siblings or the people. Like it was almost like, again, self-imposed pressure. And I think I'm glad I did it. I learned so much and maybe picked up knowledge and skills that I wouldn't have otherwise. I don't know. But
during your time in Paris, what did you sort of enjoy the most?
Walks. I ate a lot. I explored a lot. It was a lot of uncharted exploration. And it's funny, when you live in a place, you almost don't have that like agenda. Like, you know, if you have 5 days in the city and you're like, I need to do X, Y, and Z. I kind of like was very leisurely in how I spent my free time. And so like I discover like this random mustard shop and then a salt shop. And it was always about food. Like, and that's the funny part. There's like a lot of art and fashion. And of course you get to see a lot of that, but I was always drawn to like the food halls and like the pastry shops and how perfectly they made things. And like, it was always like, where are we going to have dinner? Like what restaurant is cool, or like what's an underground place? And it was a lot about that. And I was reading a lot at the time. I'm always reading, but like in like even the books that I was reading, like what was mentioned, like what's like a cool historical place that we should go eat at or explore. So it was kind of like that. Maybe a little bit.
But that's really nice. At least it sort of took your mind off from the sort of the harder parts.
Yes, but like imagine at the time, had I known that I would work in food, I probably would have approached it very differently. Maybe I would have worked in a kitchen.
Right.
Like, but I just I hadn't even allowed myself to explore the possibilities of what I could do. And so
what then happened after France?
I went back to Amman. Actually, my mom's... I left very suddenly because my mom's brother, and they're just a year apart, passed away very suddenly. And so I went home. And then I couldn't come back. Like, it just felt like... And I think I had heard the news, and then it took me like 2 days because I had to pack up and like leave.
Oh, so it was really quick.
It was very quick. And like I almost knew that I couldn't come back because I needed to be there for my mom, and they were very close, and he was quite young, and it was just very like tragic the way it happened. And so I left... And I always feel like I didn't finish my chapter there. Like I didn't finish the year as I would have. And I remember going back to Amman and feeling, again, there was like a lot of mourning, and it was like a very sad, and it was my first experience with like death as an adult to someone. And I was very close to my uncle. Like we were very tight, and he was like my confidant and like my mentor. And so I'd spent a lot of time with him, and like just going back and just being in that. And it took a while, and it took a while for my mom to come out of it too. So I was just kind of there for her, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And also like in Amman, it's funny. It's like I'm very inspired when I'm there because there's not much to do. So you like think a lot and you can daydream a lot. So it was always like, oh, I can go here and I can do that. And like it always felt like a place of possibility for me. And so I started writing. I started contributing to magazines because I was just like, okay, what am I going to do with myself? Like, I love to write. Let me try this thing out. I hadn't written before. So that's when I started writing. And then I had several jobs, and I actually can't remember the chronology of them because I didn't last long in many of them. I had a job in the Royal... I think that was my first proper job. I was at the Royal Court. I was in the press office. And it was like doing very important work. I was like the most junior person, but like... You know, it was like, oh, everything was always urgent or important. And so it was like, I felt very like privileged to be there. But again, I wasn't happy. And it was like, okay, I'm writing, I'm reading, but I'm like not into politics and like that sort of, like it just didn't feel like a right fit. So I think I was there for about 6 or 7 months. And then I left, and I honestly can't remember the chronology of things. But then I think I was doing some writing. I did like some fashion editorial stuff. It was like, kind of trying different things. And then I worked in like management consulting with Ernst & Young. They had like started, so I was there for a year. Again, yeah, like what? And I was like, that's my degree, so I might as well.
Sure.
But again, I wasn't happy. Like I was doing it, and I remember like I'd have a calendar at my desk, and I'd just cross out the days to like, I'm like, when is it okay for me to leave? And like to prove that like I tried and it didn't work. And I was lost. And I remember there was this one woman that I used to run into. She was a school friend, and she's like, "What are you doing now?" And like the now was always italicized, and it always made me feel like so bad about myself. And maybe she didn't mean it in a bad way, but like the way she asked, and I was so insecure about it, I just felt like I'm so lost, and like I'm a bit more capable than this. It just didn't feel like, it didn't feel like me. Like I just didn't feel authentic. And then I explored working in fashion. And I was a fashion buyer for like one of the big department stores in the region. Again, maybe there for 6 or 7 months. And I was like, okay, like this is not for me. And I think for there, I didn't find meaning, because I was like, okay, I should use my brain. I'm not using my brain for this. Like it just didn't feel right. And then I think it was right after that I got a job, and that job changed my life, because I had the best boss ever. She was incredible, and I've spoken about her before, but it was a job developing a curriculum for journalism, like masters in journalism.
Oh, wow. Right, okay.
And like this like job kind of, like the interview fell into my lap, and I went for it, and I was at Ernst & Young, actually. So the chronology is wrong. I think I did the fashion, then the Ernst & Young, and then this. Because I remember leaving the office and trying to find an excuse to like go to the interview. And it was like a 2-hour thing. And like I had to like tell my boss, like I need to be out of the office for 2 hours. And again, like I'm like lowest on the like the ladder. So like you don't get 2 hours on a Tuesday, you know? So I went for the interview, and I liked the woman interviewing me. And then I started the job, and my boss was this incredible woman, Rania Barakat, and she had just moved from New York to Amman to like do this project. And she was just so amazing as a boss, as a mentor, as someone who just like walked me through how to work. Like she taught me how to think and how to apply myself. And so I was challenged and I was learning. And so this job was very fulfilling.
But what was the exact job?
So I was doing a lot of research. So we were developing this program in journalism, and it was about figuring out how to do it for Jordan, how to do it for master's programs. So I was looking at different master's programs. What do they offer? It's like broadcast journalism, like traditional print, and then you had like radio and like all these different things. So we were looking at all these different programs, and she would just like tell me like, this is what you're doing today, and like she'd give me like my tasks. But then she'd be like, I want you to summarize your findings and then give me your recommendations. And I was like, okay, I'm like, you want me to tell you what I think? Like, really? And then I'd give her my feedback, and then she'd be like, okay, I love this. And she's like, okay, next time, like, how about you do this? And she was just like so gentle in the way she coached me. And I can't even like remember how she did it, but I didn't feel like I had done something wrong or didn't do it well enough. Like she just was teaching me. And so I was challenged, and I just loved working, and I just wanted her to be happy. Like I just wanted to like impress her and like do my job well and like show up on time and like do all the things that like you want to do. And so I was there for about 2.5 years.
Oh, so you really enjoyed it.
No, I lasted because I was challenged. I was appreciated. She was super kind, super gentle, like really exceptional human being. And so she just really nurtured me in the right way.
But it almost felt like you were also heard.
But also then I was like, oh, I'm like, this is important. Like this is something that's like, this is an important project. And she like was empowering me. So yeah, it felt really good. But that was the moment where I also knew that I needed to go back and pursue writing. And it hadn't occurred to me as a job option or as like even an educational thing. But I had, again, so we had reached like the moment where we had brought in all these consultants, like deans of different journalism schools from around the world. And I was looking after one particular dean of like the Columbia School of Journalism, and again, hospitality. And like we were each given like someone to host. So like I, pick him up from the hotel, take him to the meetings, do all the things. So I spent time with him in the car. Also another exceptional human. And I was like, I love to write. Like I'm thinking of applying to like do my master's in journalism. And he's like, okay, let me read your work. And he's like, I don't think you should do journalism. I think you should do creative writing. And he just like planted the seed. And so then I was like, okay, let me look at different programs. I found the program at Oxford. It was a very small program. It was 14 people. And I had I had also in the background had been doing like creative writing courses online. Like there were different, programs, like short courses. And I was just trying to like dabble with poetry, writing, fiction, nonfiction. And so I had like slowly built a portfolio. And so when the time came for me to apply, I applied.
So you're talking about Oxford University?
Yes. I got in. And also self-sabotage. I'm like, they made a mistake. Like I didn't get in. I went back and read my work. I'm like, did I get in? Like, did they make a mistake? And it was funny how like I just kept putting myself down. Anyway, so I quit my job. And then I took that summer off and I started my blog. That was the summer I started my blog because I had quit and I was like, okay, I have a summer off. What am I going to do with myself? Okay, I'm writing. Let me just try this. And I could have written about anything and I chose food because I wanted to document my grandma's recipes. I just wanted to write about like food and Jordan and spices and the streets and the recipes and the seasonality of things because for me, everything was so fleeting and it still is. Because we really do feel like now it's olive harvest and then we press the olives and then we do the olive oil and then we also like put the olives in the brine and like make our like olive thing. So like it's always like about seasonality and I wanted to document that in my blog for me and just like to kind of turn it into some sort of memory of how we do things. So I started doing that. I picked up a camera I like was not interested in photography. Writing was my thing and I'm like, okay, let me like figure this out. And I just went online and found like I went on blogs and just studied how to use a camera. I literally just like learned how to use the settings. Right. It was my sister's camera. Locked myself in my parents' dining room. We had apricots coming in from the farm at the time and I just took photos of apricots, like hundreds of photos, just so that I could like understand, okay, this is what light does, this is what the shutter speed does, this is what like f-stop means, like what does it mean, how do I play with light, natural light, reflectors, like I just played with everything till I like figured it out. So then I started taking photos for the blog, writing for the blog and doing recipes. So this was about, I want to say 3 months. And then I started the program. And
the program was online or it was in England?
It was in person, but it was designed in a way because we had to do a lot of writing. We'd have 2 weeks of class and then we'd have 6 weeks off to write. And so we were given like assignments. And what was so cool about it is that it was over 2 years. And the first year we did all the different genres. So we did poetry, we did like playwriting, screenwriting, fiction. And so we did all these different things. And so every term or like portion of a term was one of the genres. And we'd do the reading and like all the research, etc. And then we'd have our assignments. So we'd have 6 weeks off to just go and explore and read and write and come back with like a body of work of some sorts. So that was the first year. And then during the second year, you pick your genre and then you work on that and you create like a full body of work. And then you also have the thesis, which supports your research for that project.
So what was the body of work?
So I did a series of short stories, which have never seen the light of day, of like my misadventures with food. So like, and they were very funny, or I was attempting.
It sounds great.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah. So it was like, there were several. There was like my dad, and this was a Seinfeld episode, I think, which is really funny, but it was my dad also separately, and I didn't realize. So he had, we had a deli slicer at home, and my dad used to play football and had broken one of his legs. So one leg is like shorter than the other. So he had like backache. And so he went to the doctor and he's like, oh, you have to like put in an insole in one of your shoes. And so I remember coming home one day and he had bought new shoes and he was like slicing the heel off with a deli slicer. Okay. I'm not making this up.
Right.
Okay. And this is like pre-Instagram. So like, I wish I could have documented this. But so I wrote about that, for example. And then I wrote about like me in college and like binging on food because I grew up with like healthy eating and like no sodas, no sweets, like 1 sweet a week. And like my mom was very strict about those things, or at least that's how I remember it to be. She denies this, but like I remember going to college and like I was in Montreal and it was like kind of like being in the US and it was like 2-bite brownies and like ordering Domino's pizza and like I could eat whatever I want whenever I wanted and like I went crazy. Do you want to hear the story?
Yes.
This is so embarrassing. It was so bad. And like it was, and then, you know, you gain the freshman 15, the freshman 30, whatever. For me, it was like a huge number. But basically it was me and my friend, Besma. And I remember we had ordered Domino's pizza. And then used to have this dessert that used to come with them, cinnamon sticks. That would come with like the
dip.
The icing sugar.
Right.
This is so bad. This is really bad for my rep and my job, by the way, because basically we got the order in and then we were halfway through the order eating like the dessert. And I'm like, the cinnamon sticks taste like garlic. basically they had given us garlic, and the garlic bread looked exactly the same, but they had covered it with cinnamon and sugar, and so we were eating.
No way. Ugh.
Exactly. It
Nice.
was really bad. But like that's how sorry, I'm so shy. I'm so embarrassed now. Maybe we need to cut this out, but I'll think about it. But basically I wrote about that story and that like basically like how wild I was with just like exploring all this stuff and this new world of like, you know, you order a chocolate cake and it's this massive. And then there was this deli near my house called Reuben's Deli, and they made the most amazing turkey Reuben like melt.
Beautiful.
And it had like the best sauerkraut, and I think it's still there. I haven't been back. I graduated, I think 20 or 19, 18 years ago. So I haven't been back since, but like if I go back, I want to have that sandwich. And I want to see if it's actually good because, you know, your palate.
But it would be good to sort of do a tour of the college and all the places.
Yeah, of all the places. So that was Montreal. So I wrote, like my body of work was like these stories of me and food, and like some were happy, some were funny, some were sad. I'm trying to remember.
Must have been really therapeutic and nice to sort of write those stories, though, in a way that, you know, told those beautiful stories and the way it made you feel at the time. And maybe it wasn't funny then, but it was funny now.
Yeah, but
you know?
like, and it was also like lows, like really low, like eating garlic bread and thinking it's cinnamon, like whatever. It was just, and I remember we looked at each other and we were so embarrassed, and we're like, what are we doing? Like, why are we so like
Still eating.
Yeah, we're still eating and watching Friends. Like it was like we were losers. Like we were even cool. Like our friends were out clubbing and we were eating Domino's pizza.
But do you know what? I think there's been many stories on this show.
Okay, like that.
In that respect.
Like that.
So don't worry, you're not alone.
Okay, but that's where also I started to cook, like properly cook. Like I would make crazy meals for my friends, and like I'd make mlokhia all the time, and I'd just kind of be like, okay, I'm homesick, what can I make? And I'd call my mom and she'd tell me how to make it, and I'd make it. And like that's where I really started discovering how therapeutic cooking was for me. And I think that was the moment where like I really started to appreciate food in a different way. Maybe I was connecting with like nostalgia, with homesickness, with like actually it was a form of relief for me to cook and feed others and like see how happy they were. But
the nice thing is also that again, that part also takes you back to your roots in a way where you're sharing your culture, your traditions, and the hospitality.
It felt very natural. So body of work. Sorry, like I took you on a.
No, all good. I like it. I like it.
So that's what So that's what I did. So got the job, got into Oxford, did the first year, and that's when actually I got into food like fully, because we'd have those 6 weeks off, and because there weren't that many Middle Eastern based food bloggers. I was one of, and I was like also playing around with SEO, and like I had like a WordPress blog, and I was playing with like Google Analytics, and so you'd Google food writer, food photographer, recipe developer, and I would pop up. Like I was one of the first hits. And so I remember I was contacted by like so many different people. They're like, hey, like, can you come to Dubai and do a project? Like I was handling the photography for all Hyatt hotels at one point. I had never like.
And you were still in uni?
Yeah, I was. And I hadn't like even like taken, like I had taken photos for my blog, but like I remember showing up and like Googling like how do I look more professional? Like I need extra camera, battery packs. I need, like I was like just scrambling, and I went to Hot and Cold Studios. I rented a bunch of lenses. Like I didn't have the stuff I needed, but this was like my like first big project, and I took it on and I did it, and like I hustled my way through, but like it felt so good because I loved what I was doing. So I was like, I'm gonna give this 1,000%. I was styling, I was photographing, I was editing I did everything myself, and this was on the 6 weeks off, and so also I was like scrambling to like get my work done.
Yeah.
But also like you don't say no to this stuff. Does that make sense?
No, of course, because what an opportunity.
Yeah, and it was like finally something. It was work, and I had struggled to find a job that I liked, but it like felt really good. I loved doing it. It didn't feel like a job. I was getting paid, and like you work in Jordan, like you get paid nothing. So it was like really dumb. So like all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, like this is actually like I feel like I'm a grown up. Like I can actually do this. So a lot of photography work came in, and then also like some menu development stuff would come in as well. I also worked on like a bunch of videos with a friend, and so those got a lot of again, they were on Vimeo and like YouTube,
Right,
and
yeah.
like they got a lot of, and so people would just reach out. This was pre-Instagram.
This is through the blog.
Through the blog. I was doing my master's. I had these 6 weeks off. And so I did spend time in Oxford, and it was nice, but I didn't spend as much time as I could have. And like in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm going to go be in the library and I'm going to read and I'm going to be like that nerdy student. Like,
Yeah, I'm going to be cycling everywhere.
yeah, no, like that didn't really happen. So I did spend time there, but not in the way that I had envisioned. But I was like also like finding myself finally. And I was writing about food. And so like that's why naturally my work just went towards like the food part. And so for my thesis, I did food and film. So I watched all these food films and like analyzed them, talked about like how food appears and like the cultural significance and the emotional significance and like how it tells the story. And I watched all these amazing films about food and then did those short stories, which I need to revisit, I think, now that
I think you need to publish them in a book.
I hope so. Yeah.
Because that would be nice.
That would be nice. But like, I think I need to
Yeah.
refine them. I think, because you know, when you write something and you go back and read it, like now it's been 15 years,
Of course.
like you cringe. You're like, oh my God, like, no, like this can't see the light of day. So
No,
I
but
need to,
still, I think what's really nice is that you can go back to it and you can revisit and go, actually, you know, because they're almost magical stories because
Yeah.
you're going back in time.
and now that I've established myself
Yeah.
in my career, like that, like I work in food, so maybe they're more relevant to
Right.
read, you know, like it's not like some nobody writing about food. Like now I work in food and maybe, I don't know, we'll see.
So once you graduated from Oxford,
Yes.
what happened then? Because you were still sort of
So this
working
was,
and taking
yeah,
things on.
and then it just kind of, it was kind of like, it was like a mushroom effect. So I had taken on like one, and I wouldn't take on as many projects, but then like I was graduating, and then I just was able to take on more projects. And so I was spending a lot of time here, but I was between Oxford, like home was Amman, and I'd just come in. My brother was living here at the time, and I'd just go like stay with him for a bit, do the thing, be in and out, like in and out, and just.
Was it difficult to manage?
No, because like now I have kids, so like that's like now my life is a bit. But then I was just me and like no obligations, and I owned my time, and I could work like I worked through weekends. I like it wasn't like I don't follow like the way I work is like I really throw myself into my work, and I don't mind not taking time off. Like I love immersing myself in what I do, and then I take a break. But like then it kind of became a pattern where I noticed that this is how I'm able to create and be productive is I'm switched on, but then I burn out. But I take time off to like hibernate, replenish, re-energize, explore, like get inspired, get bored, look after myself, do the boring things, like be grounded in a routine, work out, eat clean, go for walks, go to the beach, do like mundane stuff. But that's when like you kind of get...
That's when the magic happens.
Yeah, the inspiration. That's when like your mind kind of quiets down and you're able to like really get downloads on what you can do. And I'm like really connected. Like I love exploring my spirituality and working that way. And I really feel like it's all very interconnected. And so when I'm switched off and I'm open and I'm like willing to like receive. And that's why I like take on different projects. Like I think that's what also keeps me
also motivated. I think
motivated, excited.
It's really interesting. But I want to understand also, how did the journey come about for you to sort of go and work in the US this time around? Because
that was just like I had gotten married and we wanted something different. Like we're just like, okay, like, and he was living in Dubai, I was in Amman, and we got married, and we're like, do we want to live here? Like now, like we're young, we're like free. So we went to San Francisco, and it kind of worked out. Like I remember we were trying to figure out how we would work there, and then he qualified for a special like permit, and we got our green cards in 2 weeks. Like it was crazy, actually. So we moved to San Francisco, and then I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to work at Tartine Bakery. I wanted to work at Josie Baker Bread, the mill. Like, so I went to all these different places but again, I had no kitchen experience. I was into food, but I was like, how do you get in? And of course, these places were so competitive. Like they were at their peak. So like I would go to the back door and like see a chef like having a cigarette. And I'm like, hey, like I want to work here. And they'd look at me. They're like, who are you? Like, what do you do? Like kind of thing. And I didn't have the credentials to back it up. And so I had gone down that path. And then I remember going to this conference. I can't remember what it was. It was like some random like unlock your creativity. Something like, because I was free and had nothing to do. So I would just like go on walks, and then I signed up for this conference. And there was this guy on stage, and he was talking about a cooking technology startup that he had started, and he had like the product with him. And he was talking to someone, and then I was like, oh, like maybe I could do like in my mind's like, maybe I could do some food photography for them. Maybe I could consult for them. So then he got off stage, and I just went up to him and was like, hey, and he gave me a huge hug. He's like, it's so nice to see you again. And I was like, I don't know you. Like, hi, I'm Leen. Nice to meet you. I'm like, I just moved here from Jordan. He's like, no, we've met before. I'm like, I literally know zero people here. And then he's like, okay, what do you do? I was like, oh, this is what I do, blah, blah, blah. I write, I do food photography. He gave me his business card. He's like, email me. So I went home, I emailed him, and I was like, okay, this is what I do. Here's my resume. Here's my portfolio. And then he writes back. He's like, okay, can you come in for an interview on like Monday at whatever? I was like, okay. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going for. And he gave me a residential address. Okay.
Right. Okay.
In Pac Heights. I don't know if you know San Francisco. Pac Heights is like a super fancy neighborhood. I looked it up on Google Maps. It's like an old Victorian. I'm like, okay, where am I going? So I go and I Google him, and like he's legit. Like,
okay.
You know, like.
So he's not some weirdo.
No, not some weirdo.
Okay.
So I show up, and it's like a full-on. It was basically one of those like tech startups in a house, like typical San Francisco, like that time where it was like a bunch of engineers working from like a house. It was very cool, and they had, I think at the time, gotten like starting to get good funding. But anyway, I walk in, and it's a full-on interview. I'm meeting him, I'm meeting the CTO, I'm meeting like this program manager, I'm meeting a couple of engineers. I was like, oh, I hadn't prepared for this. I don't even like, I knew a bit about the company, but I thought I was going to come in and be like, hey, I'll do your food photography, maybe help you with like your copywriting. Like I wasn't prepared to. And he's like, listen, we really like you, and we're going to we need someone like you on board. So we're going to create a role for you. So I do the first interview, it goes well. And then he's like, come over in 2 days and have lunch with the whole team. Like we want to see if they like you. And at that point, I think there were 15 employees. Like
right, okay.
It was quite small. And because it was out of a house, like they had a kitchen and someone would cook. And it was really cool, actually. Like looking back, it was really fun. And so I got the job. And I had no job title at the beginning. I was doing everything. Like I had set up a photo studio. Then they had like an in-house chef that I was working with. And then it was basically a bunch of engineers, hardware and software engineers. And I don't know if you know the difference, but like there are two like different genres of like the hardware guys are like tattooed, all come to work in motorcycles, like super buff, go to the gym in the morning, like really like alpha males, okay? And then the software engineers are mostly nerds who like, you know, are like really good at math and like, you know, just drink Soylent and just like come to work in the like company t-shirts. Okay, so it was them, and then like there was one other woman, I think, or two other women, and me. And that was it. And I was like, okay, like how do, like, and I'm also new to the US, I was just trying to figure out, I'm like, where am I? What am I doing here? But basically this was, I think for me, an amazing moment because because it's a startup, we kind of created a role for me. And I got to do things, like it was very hands-off, like figure it out, like do what you need to do to make this successful. We were well funded. And so like if I needed certain things, like I could get access to them. And then when we started like growing as a brand, the company was called June Oven. So we built this intelligent oven. And over time, like my job was to kind of teach the oven how to cook.
Teach the oven
how to cook. So basically it's like the smart oven, it's a countertop oven, and it had like AI, computer vision, like we're talking early days. This is what, in 2014, 15. Yeah. So there's a built-in camera. So you put the food in. And there was also like a built-in thermometer. So if you put in a steak, it would cook it perfectly for you. So it would recognize that it's a steak. They'd pick the program and it would cook it for you. And so there were different functions. So there's like, I remember bacon, steak, salmon, like a molten...
Yeah, lava cake.
Yeah, lava cake thing. Yes. And that was like stuff I did, like, because it's like, okay, what can we do with this oven? Like, how can we... And then there was a roast chicken. And then, of course, it was America. So they're like, can we fit a turkey in it? Like, that was always the biggest question we got. Like, can we fit a turkey? And we're like, no, but you can fit in like a small turkey. So like we had to test the turkeys. It was just like really fun and funny. So that was a part of what I did. And then also kind of building out the content arm of that. So there was like a studio and like a photo studio and a video studio. And then we had like an iPad app that we had to build. And so we had to like create content for that. And it was all just us like figuring it out as we like went along. And then also there's marketing and branding. And so we were like, okay, we need to rebrand this, spending a lot of time in New York with like amazing like brand agencies, a PR agency. That's, I think, where I really got to, one, work with people that I really admire. We were well funded, so it was always like, oh, like, who's interesting, who's doing interesting work, let's go work with them. And like, you're a hot startup from San Francisco, no one's going to say no to you, you know, like, it was kind of that.
Sounds super interesting.
It was very cool, and it was where I learned how to cook like properly, because I was doing all these like tests, and like, I remember I was pregnant with my first daughter and I was making steaks and I was like so sick, but I was just like I gotta do this. I was like working with raw meat, and like, I remember feeling horrible, but like, I was like, okay, I'm doing this and I'm really learning how to make a steak like properly, perfectly, and like salmon and roast chicken, and like, it's like hundreds of like trials, you know? Like,
So how long were you there for in total?
14, 15, 16, 17, 18, almost 5 years.
So you really developed a huge amount, you know, within the role.
And then, of course, but we started, like, I started off like with no role. And so it was like social media. And then like, it kind of just, it's like, do what you need to do to figure this out. And like, as we grew, we just kind of, I'm like, okay, how do we make this more about food? And again, well funded, we could hire more people. So like that's how my role got defined. But like, it was just hustling, which I loved. And I love that. I love that flexibility and freedom. And now when I work on something, I always need that trust to build, because that's when you're not confined, you're able to be really creative.
Yeah.
But if someone's like breathing down your neck and like, did you do this? Did you do that? Like, it gets, or at least for me, I'm like I can't think anymore. Like, I need to like really be able to just be like, let's try this. I know it sounds crazy, but maybe this will work. And like, you know, that's where inspiration comes from. And that's where these moments.
Yeah, no, 100%. But also, I'm also thinking it must have been quite, what an experience to also have worked in, you know, with these sort of PR and marketing agencies from New York who are all dynamic, and they're all trying to push what, you know, what's this oven all about? What's AI? Working with different chefs, you know, and some chefs, you know, we talk a lot on this show about the ego of the chef. So trying to get that out the way when an oven is doing everything for you.
Yeah.
You know, but that sounds really
and it was
incredible.
It was an amazing product, and I had one at home, and it almost became like, and again, we all had them, like we had them at home because we would test them, and like, of course there would be a bug, and it's like, oh, like it did this thing the other day, but like it empowers you, like you think you're a better cook, you know, just because it makes it so simple. And it was really easy, and I guess it's like the American lifestyle where you come home from work and you want to make dinner, and like it was that, but like it was perfect, and I miss it. Like I actually miss the oven. I loved it. I loved it as a product. Like, it was so cool to have.
And I'm just wondering, were you still writing at that stage, or were you more sort of writing the recipes for the brand?
It was a lot about that, but what I was doing was is this amazing photographer who is now a friend. Her name's Marin Caruso. And she's based in San Francisco, and she does like really incredible work, and like works with light and like texture and layers. And so I was obsessed with her work, and I managed to like be able to kind of go in and assist on certain shoots. And so every time like a project would come up and she'd reach out, I'd take time off work.
You were in. Yeah.
And I would go. And I had spoken to our CEO about it, and he was a friend, still is a friend. And I went to him, I'm like, listen, this is an amazing opportunity. It's like consider it professional development, but like I'm taking time off, like my time off work. Like, it's not like I'm asking for, but like I want to, like, this is very important to me, and I think it would help me be better at my job. And so I learned so much from her, and it was just incredible to work with someone. Again, like, just like I had talked about my previous boss, Rania, who had taught me, like, watching Marin work, like, she was so secure in her craft, and still is, that she would think out loud and like talk me through her process and what she was thinking and what she wanted to do. And like, so that's how you learn, you know. So it was like a really important moment for me to kind of witness that and see, like, it's amazing to work with other people, especially women, who are like so open and so able to like really share the knowledge. And that was like an incredible moment for me. So I wasn't writing, but I was doing this. And this was actually towards the end. I remember I was also pregnant at the time, and I remember working with eggs on one of the shoots and also feeling really like queasy. But I think these are the moments you remember, because it's like,
yes, yeah,
you don't feel good, but like you don't remember the moments where it was like easy and fun. And But yeah, so I think that was towards the end of my time at June, because I had my daughter, and then I took almost a year of maternity leave, and then I couldn't imagine going back to work. I struggled a bit, so that was it with them.
But then I want to understand also, you've had sort of an extensive amount of time working in Japan.
Okay.
How did that come about?
So that happened right after San Francisco. My daughter was 2.5 years old, and I went with my husband at the time, and he had gotten a job with Mitsubishi. And so we moved from San Francisco to Japan, and we moved just before COVID. So actually it was like a really weird time to be there, because like the move was October 2019, and then COVID hit I want to say January, but like I remember lockdown was April 1st.
Yeah.
And I had gone back to Jordan, and then Haya and I went back, and I remember we had taken the last flight out of Amman, and one of my closest friends works at Emirates Airlines, and I had called her and I said, listen, can you let me know when they're going to shut down? Because I need to get to Japan. And if, like, do we have time? And I remember she called me that morning. She's like, pack your bags, like, get on this flight, because, like, that's it. I remember we got to Japan, Haya and I, and we missed the quarantine at the airport, so that we had gotten in and we made it through. And then the next day they started this like cardboard room quarantine in the airport, where they do a COVID test, and you'd have to spend like a couple of days till the results came out. And so we had just missed that. Imagine that with a 2.5-year-old. Like, that would have been like a disaster. And so I got to Japan, COVID, and then I had to get creative with how I spent my time, because in my mind I was going to go explore all the art galleries and work and like do photography work, and maybe like go do some like cooking courses and learn about Japanese cuisine. And it that's not how it like played out. It was like we were stuck at home. I had to find ways to get creative, and so I started teaching online. I did a sourdough course. I did like a series of I did a hummus course. I did cooking with flowers and like dairy, like how to make yogurt. Like, it was all the COVID things, and I started doing those things online.
And who was your audience at that time?
Just people from Instagram, and like people signed up.
So from all over the world?
All over. Like, I remember I had like several time zones, and so it was always difficult to find the time to host. And I remember I'd be like Japan, Dubai, London, San Francisco. I think it was like I had 4 time zones. And
wow.
And I want to say I did 6 or 7 of these things, and they were really fun, because I'd prep and like I'd style the kitchen, and like, so it was like all the things I love to do, but in the confines of your home and doing it on Zoom. But like, I think had it been in person, I wouldn't have had the confidence, or because it was like I was talking to my computer screen. Like, I didn't know who was there. I was like literally talking to my computer screen and just talking about what I know what to do, and it was just like easy.
So throughout all of this time, so you started this beautiful blog. You'd obviously left home, but
the blog was off then.
But the blog was, because I was going to say that, because that helped to kick things off, right?
Kick things off, and then I kind of dropped the ball when I started working on like projects. And so every now and then maybe I'd do a post, and then I think also Instagram started to come in.
Well, especially during COVID times. I mean, that was when
even San Francisco. Like, it was like you post a photo, and that was kind of like enough at the time. And so I stopped blogging, and then it just kind of became an archive of my work. And then also it stopped being cool to have like a blog with a funny name. Like, mine was called Culinary. And then I just felt like a bit immature. So I was like, okay, like that needs to like just be archived.
I think now it's quite cool, to be honest.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe we bring it back.
No, but the other thing is that what's nice is that you still managed to have your passion about bringing hospitality on an online world.
Yes, I think that was, and again, it's like you're in a situation and you don't really think about it. It just kind of happens very organically. And that's always how it's been with me, because if I think too much about something, then like now if I have an idea and I want to do it, like I will hold myself back, because I'm afraid of like succeeding or afraid of failing, or like I tend to overthink, and then so I sabotage. But the things that I've done, just throw myself into it, don't think about it. Just like the job at June, like I just saw this guy on stage. I went up to him. I said hi. He invited me to it. Like, it just kind of, I didn't have to think about it. It just kind of happened very organically. And just every project that, looking back, that was a success, or I felt like I succeeded in, was the one that was just came my way, and I just like kind of went for it without overthinking.
But then when it comes to the food scene in Japan after COVID and things sort of mellowed out and you were able to leave the house or the apartment, can you tell me in your own words, how was it discovering the Japanese culture, Japanese food, the traditions, the sights, the smells, things that somebody from the outside would sort of never pick up on if you were just a tourist, but instead of, because you were living there.
Yes, so it's funny. So we moved there and it was like kind of a progression. We had spent quite a bit of time in Japan. So it wasn't like fresh off the boat, just arrived in Tokyo and like wide-eyed. We had spent quite a bit of time there. And I had spent quite a bit of time in Kobe, actually. And like I'd gone to farms and like met the cows and like, done all the things, gone to all the depachkas, like explored. So it was always like and I had treated every trip to Japan as a theme.
And was that for work or just for leisure?
Exploration, right. Really. Like just fascination with the culture, wanting to be there. We were living in San Francisco at the time, so it was easy to just...
So how long is that flight?
I think it was 9 hours. I think it was kind of the same as Dubai.
Okay.
But again, I think with Japan, and maybe we can talk about this later, like it's the time difference, but like it works out somehow, like to spend a short period of time there because of the time difference. Like you end up gaining a day or... But basically, so like arriving to Tokyo, I remember the first couple of weeks I was home and I didn't think we could leave. And they have this amazing emergency PA system because of the earthquakes. And so every day at 10 a.m., something would come on in Japanese. And then at the end, she'd be like, stay home, stay home, stay home. And so I stayed home. And then I remember one day like leaving the house for a walk and realizing that people were out. Like cafes were open, people were out and about. And I'm like, what? Like I've been home with like my markers and like a roll of paper and just like kind of drawing with my kid and like making sourdough. I'm like, people are out. So I remember I came home. I was like, I need my stuff. Like I'm going to like let loose. And
go wild. Yeah.
But actually COVID was the moment that I think I remember there was this one night where I went on a walk and I was in Ginza and there was no one there. It was all lit up and it was like me and maybe like 5 other people. Imagine like this huge space with like the tallest buildings that are lit up and like super cool, and it's just me. And I'm like, when is this ever gonna happen? Like this was like a once in a lifetime moment. And I remember thinking like where am I in a dream? Like it was just really weird. And like this moment I think will never happen again to anyone. Like it was just like this very special moment. Same with the cherry blossoms. It was actually just when I had arrived, I had gone on a walk and it started to snow. But like no crowds, no one. It was just me in Nakameguro, and that's like where there's a series of bridges and then all these trees that kind of flank the river, and you're like looking at it, and it was just me and like a few passersby, and like I was just like, when is this moment ever gonna happen? But then it was the same with the restaurants. Like I was able to get in everywhere because there was no one, no tourists at this point. Like people in Japan were only people who had like residencies. Like there were no tourists at all. And people were being careful. Okay, I told you like people were out, but like people were being careful. So like not everyone was out. So there's this lovely izakaya that was so difficult to get into. Over the years I had tried, and then like I just sent the guy a message on Instagram and he got me a spot. And then it became our regular place to go. Because the way they do it in Japan, especially at those places, is that you book on your way out. So you book your monthly. That's like a secret.
It's very smart.
Yeah. So then that's like, it's a closed loop. So you need to get in. And then once you're in, you're in. And so on your way out, you're like, oh, I want to book for next month. And so I had a standing reservation.
Brilliant.
Every month. So things like that. I got to do things like that. And then there's a woman who I had met. She runs food tours. Her name's Yukari Sakamoto. And she has a blog called Food Sake Tokyo. And so I had met her previously and I had gone on one of her tours, but then she became a friend. And so when I moved to Japan, I had done her tour like previously. I remember I had gone to the supermarket and I was completely lost. Like I didn't know what I remember buying eggs and I came home and they were boiled eggs. And like, you had like really precious moments to go to the grocery store. And again, this was when the fear was like, so I was like, I bought boiled eggs. And I remember thinking I bought milk and it was yogurt because it came in the same, I had like made those silly mistakes. And so I remember...
How could you know?
No, there was no way. And like
How could you know?
Google Translate, but like my supermarket runs were like 3 hours because I was literally with the phone and I was like scanning everything. And I'm like, what is this? What am I buying? And it said like, and then, you know, Google Translate isn't effective. Like you see like funny words come up and you're like, okay, I think this is the right thing. So I remember getting in touch with her. I'm like, can we do a supermarket tour? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, just the things you buy. Like, what's the best soy sauce? What's the best rice? Like, what's the best yogurt? What are the eggs I need to buy? And so she had done that for me, but she also sent me a box of all these goodies.
Oh.
And so like the dashi, and again, it was also like almost a lesson in Japanese cooking and Japanese ingredients. So it was like a mishmash. So how to get to know the supermarket, how to get to know the products, but then also like how to learn how to cook. So she taught me how to cook in a donabe, like the Japanese clay pot. I remember she told me where to buy it from. I went and I bought it, and then she taught me how to season it. And then all ovens in Japan come with a fish grill. And it was always this drawer. I'm like, what is this drawer? Like, it's weird. Like, what do I do with it? And she's like, oh, you buy the fish from the depachka, and it's like in sakelis, like it's kind of marinated, and then you just like remove it, put it there, and it's done. And you have like, you make your rice. Again, taught me how to use a rice cooker. And so Yukari was like amazing. And so we did different, and then I remember we had gone on a market tour with her as well, and like we went to the bean shop and the knife shop, and so we had done all these different tours in the past, but then it was like because we were now locals, it was like kind of a different flavor, but that was also interesting. And she taught me how to make dashi, like how to make miso soup, like all the basics, and then like would also give me books and recommendations. But it was like really amazing to like learn how to make all of this and have access to the ingredients.
But it must have been incredible to also immerse yourself in that world.
Yes.
Completely.
For
like
sure.
no tourists, and to have a friend also being a guide and understanding so many nuances about the culture.
And it was, like you said, it was a quiet moment. Like, so it was just, and there was no rush. Because I think when you go to Japan, people always like feel like they don't have enough time to explore, or like they feel like they never scratched the surface. But I was like, I'm here. Like, I'm here for a while. Let me just kind of take my time, get to know. And again, it was always, and then I got into green tea and like went to so many tea ceremonies, discovered I don't like matcha. Like, I felt like I had to like it because everyone, and I tried really hard. I like sencha. Like, I don't like matcha. It's just not for me, you know? So you kind of get to know it and like really get to know it with confidence. It's like, I know everyone likes matcha, but like it's not for me. I did a lot of tea houses, a lot of like Japanese breakfast. Wow. It's like, it's just nice. And you could get in anywhere. Like, everyone was free, you know? And so
what was the total amount of time that you'd spent there, as in living there, not visiting?
2.5 almost.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you came back from Japan, had 50 Best and the team already have their eyes on you?
So this is funny. The first call I had was in Japan. It was funny, and it was more of an exploratory call. And I think at the time, we weren't sure if we were going to be in Japan or not. Like, it was kind of like this.
So how did the 50 Best team spot you?
Okay, so I had been a voter for many, many, many years.
Right.
So I think 10 years. And the previous academy chair was a friend. Like, we met, we became friends. She worked in food. She had a food journal, like magazine called The Carton. Her name's Jade George. And so I had met her, and like was recruiting me to be a voter at the time. This was when I was spending time in Dubai doing all the.
Got you.
So I met her then. And then we became friends because she's into food, and I had contributed to her journal. I had written a few articles for her. She lived in Beirut. I went to Beirut a couple of times. Like, we just kind of became friends. And so I think at the time they wanted to come and do the MENA list, and they needed to like talk about Jordan and like all the different countries. And I think at the time she had just said like, talk to Leen because she knows the industry quite well. And so I remember we just had like a call. It was just like, what do you think? These are the countries we're thinking about. It was kind of like a very general call.
And who was on the call? Was it
me and Will?
So it was just you and Will.
Just me and Will.
So Zoom call.
Zoom call.
Okay.
COVID times.
Sure.
I was I think not very pregnant, because I think I was very pregnant when he offered me the world list. So this was just like.
So it was just a chat.
Hey, chat, and I was like, and I would have loved, like, in my mind, I'm like, I'd love to be the cat, but I was also too shy to ask. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to ask, but like, he wants the information. So I just gave him the information. And then I think at that point moved back to Jordan. And I remember having the next call with him where he's like, can you join us as the like Levant Academy chair. And I think, I can't remember this. I think we had chosen the countries that I would also be able to, because you needed to have a network and like know the chefs and the people, the journalists, the writers, the people in the industry. So and I was based in Jordan at the time, so it made sense to do like that region.
I would like to know how you felt when he offered it to you.
So I like at that point, I think we had 2 or 3 calls. So it was
Right.
like, okay, amazing. It was when he offered me the world position that was like, because I had wanted it for years. And Jade,
Hi.
no, but like I knew because Jade was a friend, I knew that she had moved to Greece, and I knew that she was stepping down, like just as a friend. And so I was like, okay, they're looking for someone. And I remember maybe having had asked him, and he's like, oh, we have a journalist in mind. And he kind of like, so I didn't think I was even like a contender, so I just left it. And I remember we had submitted the names. We had done the first MENA list. And then I had received, I think, an email from him saying, hey, like, are you free to chat? And of course, being myself, I panicked. I'm like, oh, I did a bad job. Like, I'm fired. Like, and I was, again,
self-sabotaging.
I was very
again.
pregnant with my second daughter at the point. And I was like hormonal and like emotional. And I'm
right.
like, oh my God, I'm so bad at this. Like, you know, all the things you feel. and then so we got on a Zoom call. And then he's like, oh, like you did such a good job with thing. He's like, I want to offer you the world position. And I was like, okay. He's like, no, I want you to think about it. It like requires a bit of travel. I'm like, no, I want this. He's like, no, like, he's like, are you sure? Like, think about it. I'm like, no, like, I want this. I've wanted this for 10 years. Like, yes, the answer is yes. I want to do this. Like, you know.
So that would have been 2021?
2021. And I remember, so the first post-COVID awards
was 2022. I mean, for
2020, no, for the world,
right,
was October 5th, because I had given birth on October 4th.
Right, okay.
And I, like, it was supposed to be my first event. I'm like, guys, I can't come. I'm going to be, like, giving birth to my child. So I remember it was on October 5th. Like, I remember that, because it was 4th was my daughter's birthday, and then the 5th was the first one. And then in January, end of January 2022 was the first MENA list.
Yeah.
And I remember it was such a big production for me to get there, because I was worried about COVID. I had like a very young baby, and I was just like, how am I going to do this? Like,
so by that stage, you already had all of the other chairs, as in, you know.
Yeah, we met. It was our first time meeting,
right,
all of us. And
right.
I think we had a Zoom call.
Okay.
To meet each other, I think. Again, I'm a bit fuzzy on the details.
So I want to understand also from the first MENA list in 2022. So not yourself, but all the voters would have compiled the list together.
Yes.
Let's say, and then obviously you guys would have sort of knuckled it down, right? Is that how it works?
No. So we actually, like, our job is to identify and choose the voters. And then we submit the names to the office. The board, let's say. We call it central office in London. And I think they just go into a database. And it's like almost fully anonymous. Like people, the funny thing is, especially when I was a voter, like way back when, before I knew how it worked, I thought someone was reading my votes. And so like, you know, like you're like, oh, am I impressive enough? Am I good enough? Are they going to ask me to vote again? Like, I don't think anyone, like, it's really data. So we identify the voters, we send them the rules, and we're like, do you agree? And there's like a voting charter, like you must remain anonymous. And then there's all the like information, like you have to vote for a certain number of restaurants, and then you should have dined there in like a certain period of time, etc. And then we submit the names. They agree. We submit the names to the team in London, and then they get sent a link to sign up to a website, and that's where they access the voting system. And so it's like completely there. We don't see anything. We actually don't know I don't know the results. Everyone thinks I know beforehand. And is that the same now? Is that system still the same? Still the same. Okay. It's still the same. No one knows anything. And of course there's always like gossip, and they're like, do you know who's number one? I'm like, honestly, we really don't know. Like at least I don't know. Like I never know. It's always a surprise. Of course we have our guesses, because, you know, especially as you work on the list longer, like you get to know the list. And so like you have your suspicions, but like it's always like news, always news. So how was it then for you to sort of be in that very first foray? Because I remember it being a huge deal. 2022, MENA's 50 best.
it was the first one in the region, Middle East, and it really kicked off before Michelin, before Gomelo.
Yeah.
So I remember it being a spectacle.
It was. And it was, I think also, you have to factor in that it was the first big event post-COVID, especially for the industry. Like, I think people had suffered so much during COVID, and it was like the first time they were receiving recognition. They were kind of coming together as a community. Really, it was the first big event for the region. Nothing like it was unprecedented for the region. So we're talking about like not just post-COVID and like people have been like stuck and also suffering professionally, business-wise. It was like such a hard time. And people had to really extend themselves creatively to try and find ways to like keep their businesses afloat, etc. And so there was that. It was like this moment where, like, you know how like, this is how it works in Jordan. Like the person who hosts the first party after winter, it's always a good party because people have been indoors and like, they can't wait to like be out and celebrate and have a good time. So this was kind of it. Like people had been, like, it was such a sad and like scary time for all of us. And, you know, we were all down. People lost close ones. Like it was just a horrible time. And then you have this thing that was like this like breath of fresh air. And it was also new for the region. People are getting recognized. People are meeting people that they had maybe never met before. It was, I think that's where the magic is. It's like the community building. It's not like the list is amazing. But for me, it's like, what are the connections that are being made? Who's meeting whom? What collaborations are going to come out of this? What are the friendships? What are like those special moments? Like you always meet someone new, someone interesting at these events. And that's what I think it was really special. Like
super special.
And I think because it was like that special, like even though the events that come afterwards are good and probably follow the same format, but the euphoria that came with that was like a special moment.
Look, it was 100%. I think you're right. It was super euphoric, and a lot of people remember it because of exactly what you just said. The other thing I wanted to ask you is what I particularly remember about that year. There were more sort of unilateral bigger names, let's say. Whereas if you look at the list now, it's really homegrown heroes. So how have you seen that sort of list evolve throughout these years?
I think it's a combination of factors. I think, one, it was post-COVID, so people hadn't been going out. And so I think maybe they went for what was familiar. And I also think, like I told you, when I was a voter, I thought I had to vote. Like, no one tells you this, but you feel judged. Like, you're like, oh, this is an important list. Like, I need to be impressive. Like, I need to vote for the restaurants. Or I'd book in restaurants that were impressive. And, like, I'd go try them because I felt like I needed to go to the...
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
And I think people felt like that. And I think having, at the time, it was Three Phil's win. It was a surprise because it was homegrown, but they're like, oh, wait, we can vote for homegrown restaurants. It doesn't have to be all the big names. I think it was like this aha moment. So the first list had to come out. And then people started realizing, okay, we need to celebrate the community, the homegrown, the people who are like actual individuals behind a brand. And there's nothing wrong with the big groups. It's just that I think you have to, like, people, you don't even tell them, but it's like this unspoken maybe desire to feel like, oh, I'm voting, so I have to follow a certain format, even though they tell you like there's no rules. Like, vote for your best dining experiences, regardless of what they are. It could be anything. And then you had Zuba, which is like a casual falafel place, you know. So it's like you see those things and you're like, oh, wait, okay, we can do this, you know. So I think the more lists we have, the more freedom people have in their votes. Like, they kind of see the possibility of what they can vote for and what qualifies as really a good restaurant. Like, for me, it could be like having a sandwich by the side of the road and it's memorable and it's good and it made me feel good and it like hit nostalgic moments. Like, there are no rules with food. And maybe I think like this now because I've also had my fair share of fine dining meals, and there are some that are incredible and amazing, and then some very casual street food stalls that are just as good and just as memorable and just as like eye-opening and mind-blowing. So you're like, oh, wait, like there are no rules. And the more we kind of learn that, the easier it is to kind of be like, okay, like let's support what we think is good and no rules.
Yeah, but look, I think the other one is there's two things I'd like to sort of highlight. Number one is that when it comes to 50 best globally, and I said this to Claudia and I said this to Will,
Okay.
that I believe they have such a phenomenal community about what they do. And I remember the very first list when it came out.
Okay.
I was a young chef.
Like I remember the magazine.
Yeah,
like, yeah,
I remember the
like
magazine.
I remember the
and
magazine.
I used to
It was
read
like-
it all the time, and I was obsessed by it. And I'm still obsessed by the list, to be honest. But how that the community has grown and how it shapes young talent, I think is something to be, spoken about and to sing its praises. And that's why I love the list and I love what it stands for. But then on the flip side of that, you have the naysayers, right? Who sort of say, well, it's not a fair process, blah, 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 blah. So just for those people who don't understand how the voting works,
Okay.
can you run me through it? Because
Okay.
I just want to make sure that people understand this is done on a fair basis. It's not about who you know and all of those sorts of things. It's about, different criteria.
Yeah.
So what would you say are those sort of top 3 or top 5 criteria in order to make sure that a restaurant gets on the radar?
I mean, I have my personal opinion, which I think is what I look for
Yes.
when I go to a restaurant. I think I want to see the craft in things, and maybe
I love that word.
like craft,
Yeah.
like and we talk about the maybe living in Japan, like there's a term for like the mastery of something, like the shokunin, like the doing something day in, day out and perfecting it. Okay, so this is what I personally look for. And again, when you have so many fine dining experiences, I don't want to say that you become jaded, but you always look for meaning behind what's happening. So is it this person like literally showing up every day and doing this and like really making the best of it? And then what's the context? What's the story behind it? And then again, you have the moments where there's like this performative storytelling, but then there's the genuine stuff that's like really there. And you're telling a story of a time or a place or like an ingredient. And it doesn't have to be fancy if it's authentic and if it's done really well. And you can tell when something's done really well. Like you can tell when it's a good experience. You can tell when the hospitality is on point because it's genuine and authentic and it's not performative. So I would say for me, it's like doing something really well and like really authentically. And that shows, like it always shows. Like you can't, that's the magic. That's where really that shines through. Like with Echibari, I've been there 2 or 3 times. I still remember having the green pea soup and looking at the Green Mountain, and this was 12 years ago. And it's like, it was the simplest thing, but it was the context, it was the mountain, it was the greenery, it was the flavor. It was just so overwhelmingly good and so well done and so simple. Like, and he's number 2, and it's about that. It's about doing something really well. He loves what he does. He's really good at what he does.
He hates the guides. But he's
But like
amazing.
but like that's what I mean. Like how would something like that show up on the list and be
Right.
number 2 and climb to number 2? It's just a testament to that. If you do something really well and do it authentically and do it like, and when I say authentically, it's like do what you know and do it well and be passionate about it and just not care about like this obsession with the list. I think that's what hurts people more than it serves them.
Yeah.
Like just do your work, like do it really well, and it's gonna like that's gonna shine through. Whatever you do.
But again, so
I don't know if I answered.
no,
your question.
that's correct. So in your opinion, basically, it's about honing in on the craft, showing the story, showing the meaning behind.
And it could be any of the like. Maybe you don't have all these ingredients. Okay, maybe you're not in the countryside in the Basque country, so like you don't have access to this like beautiful nature. So the context is maybe. But how do you create that? How do you create meaning? How do you find the meaning in your work? And this is kind of like. I think this is the question maybe we all ask in our creative process and when we're creating something, like how can I be most authentic? How can I connect with that like force within me that will help me identify what I'm good at and like really do it well and really do it with passion day in, day out. And like, I'm sure there are hard moments and you just want to give up. And I think for me, food criticism is unfair because you have this chef who's maybe worked on this thing for months and years, and you have one person in 2 minutes come and say, I don't like this. And then what do? Like, you have to be convinced that this is good and that this is your process, because you're going to have these people come in and say, oh, whatever. Food is so subjective.
That's such a good point.
You know? And I find it so unfair. They're like, what did you think of that restaurant? I'm like, maybe I feel so bad saying I had a bad experience because I know this chef has worked like for months or years developing this concept or the story, and then like, who am I to come and say, oh, you know, I didn't like it. And was I the one who spent months like, and it's all conceptual. It's all coming from like a place of truth. So if you're able to see that work, then it doesn't necessarily have to taste good or be the best experience you've had. But if you see the work and if you see that energy that went into it, then you're able to maybe see that, okay, this person is like really trying to do their job well and needs the recognition. I don't know. It's like this thing I have in my mind. Like I'm constantly playing with this concept of
so
food criticism.
From a chef's perspective, Leen,
yeah,
I will say the following. The writers that we love and the people that we love the most when it comes to the criticism part is that they understand the job. They understand what it takes to do the craft.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do give that constructive criticism, it's not because it comes from a place of hate. It comes from a place of love because you're trying to push the
of
chef
course. I get that.
in a much better term. The thing that strikes and hurts chefs the most is that when you get people who know nothing about craft and know nothing about food or restaurants or what it takes to put out that beautiful soup, right? But then they criticize. I think that's the fine line.
Yes, and I think because we live in this social media driven world, everyone's a food critic, everyone's a model, everyone's a health expert, everyone's a fitness buff, whatever. So everyone's like dishing out
Crypto
advice.
expert.
Yeah, everyone's dishing out advice. So how do you differentiate? And I think to go back to this, like we go back to this list and you say we have the naysayers. So this is a curated group of voters who, we have 3 categories. You have the chefs and restaurateurs, you have the journalists and broadcast journalists and people who like write about food or research food, etc. And then you have the 3rd category, which is the gastronomes. So these are the more like difficult to identify because you want the people who are like good cooks. And how do you know if someone has a good taste and can identify and can see the craft behind something? So you have, but when you look at the first 2 categories, these are peer like these are chefs. These are people who know food, who know wine, who know, you know, so then we're curating a list and we're asking these experts to vote. Right. And it's not like, and again, you don't know who's coming in and when they're coming in and what sort of experience they'll have most times. But it's also like not the pressure of having like and not to put other lists down, but like this is peer reviews. So when you go to visit a restaurant, you know what it takes to like get that dish out. So your perspective is very important. You're not just a food critic, like you're a chef, you've served your time, like you know what it takes. And so...
No, I agree.
You know, so...
But the other thing that I wanted to say is that you picked up on something incredibly important that I think people need to know, which is the list is crafted and curated and it's handpicked. So, of course, the organization is going to do their due diligence on all of the voters. They're not just going to pick some random...
No, and you submit the names and they have to approve the names.
Okay. By a committee as well, right?
So then you get the feedback, like, okay, this list looks good, send out the email. Or like invite, like we'll send them the link. And like you can't have someone who works in PR or is involved in like any restaurant commercially or has like any stake in a particular restaurant. And if they do, then they have to disclose it. So then they can't vote for that particular restaurant. Like chefs can't vote for their own restaurants or any, like, so there are rules. But yeah, the list is vetted before it's like, you know, the list of voters is vetted. And then they're sent the links and then they're sent
Because I just think across all of the markets with 50 Best, I'm sure you get so many people, and especially, as you said, in this day and age of social media, and it's easy for them to message you, find out who you are, or Will, or whoever, and say, well, I don't agree with you, what are you thinking? And I just think, like, come on, guys, you know. But I think it's the modern day.
It is what it is. But yeah, if I want to, I don't know, research a vitamin, I'm not going to go to Instagram. I'm just not going to go to Instagram, you know? Like, I want to find out who the best, like, medical researcher is and, like, read maybe, like, a journal article.
Right.
And then buy that vitamin, you know? Yeah. Like, it's not like, I'm just giving you a random example, but, like, because like, people go to TikTok for research now. Like, they're like, oh, best, blah, blah, blah. And then you get...
Right.
But, you know, but, like, so as a person, like, you decide where you want to get your information. And if you want it from a reliable, trusted source, then great. And if you want it from the internet, then the internet is huge. And, like, you can go to Reddit, and you can go to, like, Instagram, and you can go to TikTok, and yeah, you do you. Like, it's just...
But if we move on to then, you know, your place of where you come from. And you were talking earlier on about Mansaf, and one of the vacations I took my wife on, we went to Jordan, and we ended up driving from Amman at about 3 a.m. Then we drove 3 a.m. to Petra.
Okay.
And that was an adventure and a half.
Of course.
Because, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. But
and you drove.
And I drove.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah.
So, but I have to say, when we got to our place, the hospitality was phenomenal. And one of the best vacations we'd ever had.
Amazing. It makes me so happy to hear that.
Mansaf was, like, you know, everywhere, and I loved it.
By the way, I'm going to get a lot of heat for the chicken Mansaf, just so you know. So
the
comments are coming. The comments are coming.
I'll get to that. But what I wanted to also ask you was about how you curated the food festival in Jordan. How did that come about?
Okay, that was... That was also a last minute thing. I just did the first one. I wasn't involved in the second one. But I'm trying to remember how it came about. I had worked on I don't think I can share that. Sorry. But basically they had started working on the festival, and I think they wanted to go in a certain direction. I think they wanted to put it on the global map, but they also wanted to showcase Jordanian cuisine. And the festival was going to be in August, first week of August. And I started, like, I was approached, I want to say mid-May. And I started, like, I want to say June 10th. Like, actually, like,
whoa.
like
yeah,
rolled up my sleeves and, like, got involved June 1st. And it was amazing because it was our first year doing it. And because I was reaching out to people, like, quite late, like chefs and, like, journalists, etc. I was like, listen, it's the first year. I just joined the team. Can you make it? Like, that's how I approached our guests. And what I did for them was I took care of, like, the symposium component, which is, like, the thought leadership, talking about food, talking about culture, talking about our cuisine, our identity, just the state of the industry in general. And again, we didn't have time to, like, think of a theme, so it was quite general. And I had to curate it based on who was coming. So I'm like, who's good at what? Who's an expert at what? How do we tell the story? And, like, tell it meaningfully and thoughtfully, and, like, really ask people about what they know best, because that's what we want. We want, like, in Arabic we say zibde, like the butter of it. Like, I want, like, the cream top. Like, I just want the best of what they have to offer. And so, and again, it was the first time where, like, something like that was happening, where we had chefs from all over the region as well come together. And it was this moment where they could have, like, this open discussion and really talk about, like, our cuisine, our identity, especially with what's going on in the world now. Like, we're reclaiming our identity and we're reclaiming our cuisine, and we want to tell our story from our perspective. So how can we kind of, like, that was kind of the thought in the back of my head, like, how can we bring that to life in the conversations? And people who have done it in different countries, or tell their story authentically, or approach their work with authenticity and with meaning and with thoughtfulness. So that was kind of, like, the backbone of it. So that was one piece. And then there was a second piece of just showcasing Jordan, my country, my home. Like I said, we have 4 seasons. People don't know that. People don't know that we have, like, this amazing agricultural, like, what you call it, like
Heritage and background.
heritage
Yes.
industry background. Like we've revived a lot of heirloom wheats. Like there's a lot of stuff. Like we have a huge foraging culture. And again, like before it was even cool. Like it's not cool to actually forage. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just there. We eat very seasonally. We have a lot of craftsmen that like artisans who work in like honey and cheese and like making jamid in the spring. And we have this particular breed of lamb, al-awasi, and like those like Jordanian lamb. I told you I have my trauma, but like really like the best lamb chops you'll have will be from like Jordanian lamb because of like the fat content and like the stuff they eat. And so like there are certain things that just people don't know about, and we're not good at telling our story. So how can we kind of become better? And this was kind of the impetus for this. Like how can we create a generation of young chefs and entrepreneurs and journalists and writers who tell our story from our perspective and like really dive deep. Why do the Italians like, you know, have balsamico and parmigiano reggiano? Like we have that, and we have like seasonality, and we have certain cheeses and milks and breeds of like sheep. Why aren't we talking about those? Like there's this whole world that we can open up to the world, and it's not just Jordan, it's Lebanon, it's Syria, it's Palestine, it's Iraq. Like whoa, like the culture, and those are places that people don't have access to. So this was the second component. How do we bring those in to expose people to those cultures? Because you have the biggest Iraqi community out of Iraq in Jordan. And so you have a lot of Iraqi restaurants, a lot of ingredients. Like there are certain neighborhoods where you hear like the Iraqi dialect, like accents. Like it's just, you know, Amman has like a little Baghdad. So you get to experience that. Not many people get the chance to go to Baghdad, and Baghdad is not what it used to be. So how do you kind of, like as Jordan, it's quite a unique place because we've had this forced migration. We have all these communities and all these food traditions. So it was like on us to kind of embrace that and tell that story.
And how was it for you once everything had been done and it was, and I know it was an extremely successful festival because it was all over the press. So many amazing chefs and so many thought leaders were there. And once the message had gone out about, you know, the incredible, you know, Jordanian hospitality and food and seasons and all of these craftsmen, how was it for the country?
It was, I think, amazing. I guess we were running on adrenaline, like all of us were just on adrenaline. Like we didn't think. We were just working. I remember I would come home at maybe 2 a.m. and then I'd be up at 7. Like I barely saw my kids that time. Like it was just
hours.
No, but like
yeah.
For like I think the month leading up to it, like it was just like pure, like we were on site, then we were like managing logistics, and then during the day I had to be like on Excel sheets, and like again we had like an amazing team and like different people doing different things. But like when you're overseeing it, like I was getting calls from journalists, like I got booked on the wrong flight. And again, it's not my problem, or like it's someone else's problem, but hospitality and like we're hosting them, so it became my problem. So I'm like, how do we fix this? Who do I need to call? Then I'd be like, I need to follow up and make sure they got on the right flight. Like it's like you get, and especially if you're like the person, like, and again, we invited people personally. Like I was reaching out to people that I know personally that are friends from the industry. So who are they going to reach out to? They're not going to reach out to like the random email they got. They're going to call me and be like, hey, I have a problem, or hey, like I want to extend my stay by a few days, or I heard about this like amazing place. I want to go check it out and write about it. And, you know, you had different people with different requests, but then you had the work and you had the logistics and the stage and the local chefs. And there were a lot of different things, like a lot of moving parts. And of course, a lot of disasters, which
of course
you learn then. The outside doesn't see the backstage disaster, so it's okay. Like you kind of, like you know what's going on and you have like the full story, but people outside have no clue. So
they're having a great time.
Yeah, so like keep your cool. It's like, you know, you're the duck in the pond and like you're flapping under the water, but like on top you're super chill and calm, and you have to do that. But that's like the magic of these events. Like, you know, like even in the kitchen, like probably like kitchen's on fire in the back and like the dining room is super quiet with like nice music and people are just like enjoying their
loving life,
you know. But that's hospitality.
No, but that is hospitality, and there by the way there are thousands of stories like that in you know, on a daily basis. But what I wanted to also get your thoughts on, and I talk about this a lot personally, is that When I first arrived to the Middle East in 2012,
Okay.
I was brought in to look after a fine dining restaurant,
Okay.
and two things happened. I was taught by all of the Middle Eastern chefs about their cultures and cuisines, which was amazing, and I'm very grateful for them to show me their hospitality and the food. But the other thing I learned quite quickly is that I was brought in to do a Western tasting menu, fine dining.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work, and then I changed the direction for it to be Middle Eastern modern.
Okay.
The Westerners loved it.
Mm-hmm.
The locals didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an age-old question now that, same as, Japan, France, even England, has modern takes on their food.
Mm-hmm.
But why has nobody started, or, nobody really taken on the mantle of modern Middle Eastern cuisine?
Okay, it gets political here, so I mean, I don't know how much I can.
No, I mean, what I'm saying is because if we take, let's say, the oldest and say the French traditional food, right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
So if you take it from a gastronomic perspective,
Mm-hmm.
no politics here, right? You have the mother base sauces, for example,
yeah.
right? And then people have changed it, tweaked it, so on and so forth. The same as in the Basque region, they have their sort of base recipes, and then they change them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we have space to do that with Middle Eastern cuisine?
I think like it's as you were telling me the story, I think the market has evolved over time. So in 2012, I think people weren't ready for fine dining in the traditional sense as they are today, because now you see all these fine dining restaurants pop up and it's become a thing. So you're expecting that. But at the same time, I also think that we haven't had the chance as Arabs to really explore our cuisine properly because of colonization, and now we're trying to reclaim our identities and reclaim certain things, and a lot of it hasn't been documented. So if you think about it,
Right,
there is a gap of documentation. I just think of my family heritage and Bedouin culture, and there's a lot of preservation and fermentation. I can't seem to find proper resources that document that.
right.
And so a lot of the work was either done and lost or hasn't been done at all. And so I feel because of the nature of how the region kind of was divided and geopolitical factors, we haven't gone through that process of maturity to get there. And then, of course, you have other factors coming in. And so that kind of throws off the balance of being grounded and present in a moment. I'm trying to keep things very neutral.
Yeah.
But really, I think we have to, and this is starting now. You have a lot. And again, also the profession of a chef, I think culturally, I can speak for Jordan. If you didn't do well in high school, you ended up in some hotel management school or some it wasn't a passion, not for many, that you pursued out of passion. It was a craft that you kind of fell into. Whereas that has changed now because the world has changed. And just now it's a pride to work in food and to be a chef. But back then it's doctor, lawyer. And then if you don't pass your exams, then you go into a more vocational training
Yes.
school, and then you become a chef. And maybe that was the same in other countries, but I can only speak for the country that I know, and I know how the system works. So if you go to 10 years ago, if you went to hospitality schools, you had the kids who just fell into it. They're not necessarily passionate about food or hospitality or hotel management, but that's what they fell into.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is at least my view of things. This is how I saw it. Because when I wanted to pursue food, I was oh my God, this is new. I have a master's from Oxford and now I'm going to work in a kitchen. I was this is cool. This is amazing. But people were oh, you did that and now you're going to work in food.
So there was a lot of judgment.
People didn't get it. And that's when I started thinking, I hadn't thought about it before, but then I was oh, wait, there are not many chefs. And this was pre-internet, not pre-internet, but pre-chefs being celebrities.
Yeah.
It was, so when you think about this movement, chefs became celebrities and you're oh, this is a big deal. Now you have younger chefs coming out of the woodwork and being oh, we want to pursue this career. And now there's this amazing culinary school. You have culinary schools popping up, education programs. chefs want to, like young people want to become chefs and want to, so then you have that, like, so you have the documentation piece, then you have that piece of like professional development. Like we're just starting to see the generation of young chefs come out. So I'm curious to see what they come up with, you know, so it's kind of like there was a time lag. So now you have young chefs experimenting and you have like people doing interesting things and trying to modernize our cuisine. And so it's like this special moment in time, because I think we're just at the cusp of kind of.
How do you feel about it yourself? Do you think, because again, I'm very respectful of the olden traditions, but I also like to see nuances on because, you know, I've seen all modern cuisines except for Levantine cuisine, and I think it's incredibly nuanced. I think it's beautiful, and I think it has an incredible heritage. And I'd love to see somebody tell those stories, but in a modern way.
And I think it's coming. I really think it's coming. I think it's starting to kind of surface, or kind of like we're starting to scratch the surface there. I think because also like a lot of our food is quite communal.
Yes.
You know, so when you're making a pot of wara ainab, you have everyone coming, or the kibbe, or like it's very. So I think you have the technique and you have the patience like built into our cuisine. It's like, you know, you're taking hours to kind of build this dish and this experience. And it's just about finding ways to kind of tell that story in a different way. And I think we're getting there. But yeah, of course, like you want to, it's like an art form, like it evolves. It has to evolve. It has to change. Yes, keep the tradition alive. Yes, keep it documented. Yes, of course, this is the basis of our cuisine. And like you kind of want to learn the basics before you go on to explore. And it's when you miss that, it's like when you don't know how to make this and then want to make the modern version of it. It's like, no, wait, like you need to know how all these versions are made, know them really well, and like know it inside out. And that's when you can kind of innovate and create something new. It's like any craft, whether it's photography or art or architecture, like you really need to exhaust yourself. This is the shokunin, like, again, it comes back, like know it really well, know your context, know your land, know your seasons, know the ingredients you're working with. And then you can create something new. So it's kind of like you need to know and then also have the technique and the craft and
the know-how, of course, of course. But I think it's also, you're right. I see it. It's encouraging because there is a lot of young talent coming through in this region, and I also see a lot of external talent wanting to be here. It's no longer Paris, London, New York. Japan, you know, they're all coming here because there's so many incredible things happening, and it seems like a really exciting time within gastronomy here.
It is, and I think also the list coming in, like we talk about 50 Best, kind of to loop it back in, chefs are being recognized. Because before it was really difficult to get on the global list because it's like you're competing with people who have been doing this for years, and there was no, why did the list come? Why do they have the regional list? It's to spotlight talent that can then get the recognition that can then eventually make it to the list. You know, so now there's this like, and again, we talked about obsession with the list. Okay, you don't want to have that unhealthy obsession, but if you're on it, then you're on the global map in a way.
Right.
And then it's encouraging. You want to be on the list. Like it's like this goal. Like, okay, I want to open up a restaurant. I want to work hard. I want to do something special so that I get on the list. So that's like there's a clear path now.
Yeah.
To fame or recognition or a Netflix deal or like
sure.
You know, like so it's
100%.
kind of and again the landscape has changed tremendously over the last few years as well.
From a social media perspective, from a media perspective.
But even from like having a dream and then being able to realize that dream, to either find the financing or the right kitchen or the right team, or like again, people have had trouble finding like building a team. Like you want to start a fine dining restaurant, who's gonna build it with you? You can't do it alone, you know? So there's that. And then I know there's like issues with service. And so it's like, it's getting there.
Do you know what's really funny is that I speak to a lot of chefs and they're like, you know, I never want to be on these lists. I just want to cook for my customers. And that's all cool. And I really respect that, of course, because you want happy customers, so on and so forth. But same chefs who then get on the list.
Of course.
Are like, oh my God, I'm in the list.
Yeah.
And then once they're on the list, then they're playing that attacking game to make sure they stay on the list and keep rising.
Yeah, but it's like any form of recognition, you know? It's like you don't know if you're going to make it, so you don't want to seem like you failed, or
Right.
but with anything, like
Yes.
like applying to a course, you don't get in. You don't want to tell everyone you applied and got rejected.
Right.
Like you just kind of keep it quiet. But then if you're in, you're like, oh, by the way, I got in.
Yeah.
I'm so excited, So it's like human psychology. Like you wanna, and you want to be part of the
gang.
yeah,
Of course.
right. It's cool. It's fun. It's mostly fun.
It is. So now we have come.
I talked a lot.
No, Leen, this is really good, and we've got some gold, but there's a bit more now.
Okay.
So we've come to the quick fire round.
I'm so bad at this.
So I'm going to get you ready. First of all, the first question I always ask any guest, and this is the hardest question, by the way. What is your favorite ingredient?
Oof.
Yeah, exactly.
Olive oil, I would say.
Good. Oh, bang.
Olive oil. Yeah. It transforms everything.
Beautiful.
And then you have different versions of olive oil, and different varieties bring out, I had brought a taster once, a friend of mine has an olive oil brand in Jordan, and I had bought all her oils, and one was really great with labane and one was really great on salads. And so you kind of get to play with,
Oh,
I
love that.
Yeah.
Spicy or pickled?
Pickled.
Pickled.
Sure.
All right. Shawarma or sushi?
Shawarma. Or sushi in Japan. It depends. Where am I? Am I in
No,
Amman?
I'm
I don't want sushi in
I'm
Amman.
saying it's one or the other. Out of the two, which one would you prefer?
No, definitely. Shawarma is a safer bet.
All right, done. Now, chicken mansaf or manaish?
Manaish.
Manaish?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say chicken
No,
mansaf.
manaish. Yeah, no. Yeah.
What would you say, as of right this moment, are your top 3 favorite cuisines to eat?
Japanese, always. I love Greek. It's so simple. And of course, Arabic. Yeah.
Who would you say are your top 3 food heroes, but they don't necessarily need to be chefs?
It's a difficult one.
So it can be, by the way, it can be anyone. And this is very personal.
Yeah, I know. I mean...
And sometimes people say 5, sometimes people say 6.
2 names popped into my head, but I don't want to say them yet. I'm trying to think of an actual human that I know. There's a friend of mine. Her name is Bassouma Rawi. She's in Amman, and she's an amazing cook, and she's just an amazing host. So I love the way that she approaches food, and I love her palate, and she's just an incredible cook and host. So she's I want to be able to cook and host like her. I thought of Julia Child.
Yep.
And then, kind of want. I like Calvin Trillin. I don't know if you know him. I read a lot of his work as I was, starting my blog. And I just loved the way he told his stories and just focused on one ingredient, was obsessed with his wife. It was really sweet. No, but it was really
That's
sweet,
really nice.
it
Yes.
was. So I think, he's.
All right, perfect. Now, the next hardest one that we always ask the guests, and doesn't matter if you're a chef, restaurateur, writer, whoever.
Or me,
clinical psychologists we've had on here.
Okay.
From all of your experiences throughout hospitality, can you tell me the funniest either kitchen or restaurant incident that you've seen or been involved in? And you don't need to name names.
I'm trying. I don't think I have one. A funny one?
Well, it might have been really bad at the time, but funny now.
Even that, I'm trying to think.
So you've never had a funny experience?
I'm blanking. I'm properly blanking.
Unless we talk about what happened behind the scenes.
But that was more drama. And
Okay.
not
okay. Okay, yeah, we don't want to name drama on here.
No. I'm trying to think. Listen, let me think.
All right, done.
Can we come back to this?
We can come back to that. I will ask you later for the chicken mansaf recipe.
Of course.
And What advice would you give for, let's say, two types of people here? Number one, people who would like to start their food writing journey.
Okay.
Number two, either restaurateurs or chefs who want to be noticed on Mina's 50 Best.
Okay. Food writers, I think, read, write, and just like you just have to. It's about practice, and it's about craft, and it's about. I mean, sometimes you find your voice and it's very natural, and sometimes you need to work on it. And this stuff comes with practice. Also, reading other people's work and seeing what stands out to you, and it's about exposure. And it doesn't have to be about food. It could be about food or travel or just.
But just read.
Read, absolutely. Like, I think, yeah, exposure.
The reason why I'm asking is because in this modern day, AI is everywhere. And I think it's really crucial to read a human's point of view, not AI.
Yes.
Somebody who is expressive and can really tell their sort of subject matter in a really beautiful, expressive way. So I think that's what I wanted to understand.
Yeah, like really for me, I can speak for myself. Like, my inspiration comes from when I'm reading. I could be reading a magazine article or a book, or just, I see Kitchen Confidential here. Like, I remember reading it and being like, wow, he writes so differently than the others. Like, this is so raw, this is so real, this is so honest. Like, what stands out? And it's the human experience, ultimately. And so AI can never capture that. So how do you, and it could be anything.
Yeah.
And it could be any moment in time, or you have a thought, write it down. Sometimes these thoughts come, or sentences come to you, or at least they do to me. So I just I have my notes app in my phone. I just write it down, and that could be the starting point of an entire essay. It's that one thought, that one moment. But write, constantly write, stream of consciousness, it comes.
And then what about then those chefs or restaurateurs who do want to be noticed?
I think, honestly, just do it passionately. Find your calling, find your creative process, find your hook, and do it. Keep at it, really. And it's about also if I had a young chef approach me, I'm go talk to other chefs. For me, it's about community building. Talk to other chefs, see what they're doing, do collaborations. How can you, because you're okay, I'm doing the work, but no one's noticing me. Okay, who's a chef you admire? Go work with them, or go do a fun project with them, or you like a chef in Lebanon, reach out to them, invite them over. We're in a very connected world. So how can you kind of also connect? It's community building. It's about that. It's how can you, what's the story you're telling? It's not just about the food now. It's you need to be out there. You need to talk to people, tell them what you're up to, collaborate, connect, expose people to your work. There are ways to do that. And this is just off the top of my head, but
But I think that's a beautiful, the two C's, collaborate and connect, because it's so easy to do it.
And now people are so open to it. It's the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
So do it.
Done. So then, funny story, Leen.
I think the funny story was the garlic bread. That was
okay, yeah.
Right?
I mean, that was a good one.
That was a good one. Really, in the kitchen? Can't.
And nothing ever went wrong live on Instagram or when you were teaching people?
No. I don't think I've done enough of it for it to iterations of it going wrong. I'm trying to think last summer when we did, not last summer, the summer before that, if something went completely wrong. A lot of people missed their flights. You have those disasters, but nothing.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's
sorry
all good.
to disappoint.
No,
I'm blanking.
No,
I might remember it tonight, falling asleep, and I'm gonna call you and be by
Very
the way,
good.
I found my moment.
Okay. Last question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to 16-year-old Leen?
Oh my God. Yeah, have more confidence and everything's gonna be fine kind of thing. I think, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was lost. But also it's I was telling you at the beginning, this lack of self-confidence. But I think that comes with age and time and experience. But I think it was finding the thing I was passionate about. And because I taught myself and really got to know my craft, and I'm obsessed. I'm constantly learning. And I think that builds confidence, and just to actually just do it. Like, just do whatever it is that you need to do. Like, just start somewhere.
Now, if anybody wanted to get hold of you through social media,
Instagram.
how can they do that?
That's the only reason I'm on. Like, I don't post stuff usually. Instagram. I have my website. My email's on there.
Okay, done.
Yeah.
So what I will do is I will put all of those details in the show notes for people to get hold of you. So I'll put your Instagram, of course, and the website.
And I've also just like recently figured out like what I do, by the way, because I like do so many different things, and I'm always like embarrassed. I'm like, I do this and I do that, and it always sounds like a mishmash of things. But now, like,
yeah,
I finally got my stuff together. So yeah.
Leen, on behalf of the Chef JKP podcast, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I know that you're extremely busy with a lot of incredible projects. And may I just also say that what you are doing for the region as a whole is just incredible, super inspiring. Please don't stop, because we need a really loud voice to sing the praises and to show everyone how incredibly talented we are with the hospitality scene, and someone like yourself who is so passionate and really who started with just such a beautiful, humble blog to the work that you're doing now is extremely phenomenal. I'm very much looking forward to reading in a book your work that you did at university. But honestly, thank you so much.
Thank you. Really, thank you. So happy to be here.
I have to say, this is one conversation that will stick with me for a long time. There was such an encyclopedic amount of information to literally digest. Leen, thank you for sharing your journey, your creativity, and your perspective with us. Your work reminds us that food isn't just about what's on the plate. It's about connection, culture, and emotion. If you'd like to see more of what Leen is up to, you'll find all of her links in the show notes. And if this conversation resonated with you, please hit that follow and, of course, share it with all of your friends. And please leave a little review, 5 stars only, as it helps to grow the Chef JKP podcast community. Remember, you can also support us by picking up one of our incredible bottles. Great for cold drinks, hot drinks, whatever drinks, soups, whatever. Also, you'll find all of these in the show notes. So, thank you so much for staying on until the very, very end, you absolute legend. This is Chef JKP signing out. Until next time, food is memories.